California gas prices are yet again about to go up. At a time that gas prices have been going down across the U.S., California has been getting worse, and it's because of their state government. Even their state government admits that they are the cause of the gas prices rising. Now, Newsom is claiming that it's because the gas companies are charging too much money, but really? I mean, you're talking about a state and a governor that is known to do things and say things for their political gain because Newsom is going to run for president from the sounds of it. And I'm not saying that there isn't a little profiteering. There probably is because, well, corporations. But there isn't a correlation quite the way that he thinks. And I'm going to cover this. We're going to put you a couple of clips here. There's a couple of refineries that are closing, which is going to cause gas prices to jump up. These two refineries closing is 20% of all gas refined in the state of California. So you're going to hear about that. Then you're going to hear immediately after that a clip from CNBC saying, why is gas so expensive in California? That is from a year ago. So we're going to get into that. And then I'm going to do a little bit about the electric grid. So if you like these kinds of things, hit like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. So here we go. Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
All right, get ready for more pain at the gas pump. That is the dire prediction for all California drivers tonight. It's because two of California's largest refineries are about to close, and they produce almost 20% of all the gas we use daily. At the state capitol today, lawmakers heard prices are sure to go up as the number of refineries goes down. KCAL News political reporter Tom Wade is here. And Tom, this sounds pretty serious. Does anyone have any ideas on how to deal with it?
The short answer.
Before we start, you know how we always talk about prices going up
Right.
for the summer oil is going to
Yeah,
be. It's not
right.
just that, though, right?
It's not. It's more than that. And let's just hope that, lawmakers get their act together because we were just talking about this, the hit after hit, right?
Yep.
Okay, so state Democrats, they seem aware that they own this crisis, one even admitting it was self-created by pushing electric vehicles too hard, too fast. At a hearing in Sacramento today, lawmakers grilled state energy officials over two looming refinery closures that Pat just talked about. The scramble is on to find a solution. California's looming refinery crisis. Two are set to close in the next year, which could send gas prices surging even higher. In Sacramento, lawmakers are scrambling to figure out a solution.
We have a crisis on our hand that may have been self-created.
This challenge is happening right now. This is happening in real time.
State Assembly Democrats and Republicans in a rare show of unity, grilling state energy officials over what needs to be done to stabilize fuel supplies.
You think we're going to lose more refineries?
I think that's an evaluation we are carefully making. I would say the honest answer would be we are evaluating and we do not exactly know the way to measure the exit risk.
I think I also heard you say that another closure can lead to a significant increase in cost to consumers on the price of gas.
Yes, sir.
Phillips 66 announced in October it was closing its refineries in Wilmington and Carson, the state's seventh largest refining operation. Valero also announced they're closing a refinery in Northern California. Together, they produce almost 20% of the state's supply. The companies are citing long-term insecurity. Severin Borenstein is a professor at UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business.
If we don't get it right, and we end up with those refineries closing and we don't have the import capacity, that could raise the price of gasoline dollars per gallon. So we really have a fire drill here. We need to make sure that by the end of 2025, this year, we have a plan for changing the way we supply California with gasoline.
One way to help make up for the refinery closures would be shipping in fuel by land or sea. But right now, it does not appear the state has the infrastructure in place for a massive jump in volume.
We already import some gasoline, and that is the marginal supply and ends up setting the market price. But it could raise prices another 10 or 20 cents a gallon.
Professor Borenstein says oil companies may fear making long-term investments in California because of lawmakers' push for EV mandates. Governor Newsom has also been criticized over legislation targeting oil companies over their profits and supplies. Bottom line, state lawmakers are running out of time.
The state is largely without a system-wide transition plan.
Yeah, another variable you just heard there, California's EV mandate and Governor Newsom's plan to phase out gas-powered vehicles. Well, you might remember Republicans in Congress voted last week to overturn that mandate, but that's probably setting up some big legal challenges. Pat, we'll have to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, so much ahead of us, Tom. Thank you so much.
California is home to some of the highest gas prices in the United States. Drivers in the Golden State typically pay well above the U.S. national average. Gas prices in the U.S. vary by region, with the West Coast seeing the highest prices on average.
Things are changing on a daily basis in a commodity that's consumed 380 million gallons of gasoline, roughly consumed on a daily basis. The stakes couldn't be higher.
We still have millions of drivers in California who depend on gas. Gas prices in California are usually among the most expensive in the country because of different factors.
High taxes are partly to blame for the high price of gas in the state, but there's more to the story.
Part of the reason why prices have been so high is that California has really restricted the ability for refineries to expand and grow. California has been rather hostile to refinery expansions or oil industry investments, trying to push them away and transition California to more electric vehicles.
This is not just California doing its California thing. Only way we're going to advance this transition is we've got to get big oil out of the way.
Why are gas prices so high in California, and how can drivers save at the pump? There are several factors that go into what drivers pay at the pump, including refining costs, distribution and marketing, taxes, and crude oil prices.
Gasoline prices tend to be much more expensive in California for many different reasons. California has its own standards for what type of gasoline must be used. It's the only state in the nation in which an Air Resources Board, that is the California Air Resources Board, supersedes the federal government, the EPA's requirements.
The state requires a special blend of gasoline that reduces pollution and costs more money.
California also has seen a drop of 66% in the amount of refineries in operation from where we were 40 years ago. So there are fewer refineries producing this special blend of gasoline.
California's 14 oil refineries process more than 1.4 million barrels of crude oil per day. 11 major refineries produce California's transportation gasoline and diesel. The isolated market means that any outages will lead to volatility in prices at the pump. In comparison, much of the refining capacity in the U.S. is located in the Gulf Coast region. Texas is home to more than 30 petroleum refineries, and Louisiana has 15.
California also has the nation's highest gasoline taxes. It has a cap and trade program that also assesses a cost for utilizing gasoline. And all of those costs and regulatory burdens push California's prices to the highest in the nation on a daily basis.
What proof do you have that oil refineries are indeed price gouging in California?
Well, $2.61 more than the national average last year. Inexplicable. They cannot explain it. They always go back, well, it's your gas tax, it's your environmental rulemaking, it's the cap and trade, low carbon fuel standards. Fine, we will grant that California has unique blends, all of their talking points. Add it up, stack it up, about $1. What's the delta? Where does that come from? They say, well, it's lack of competition. Well, there you have it. What that means is lack of competition means we can take advantage of you. And that's exactly what they say. And that's exactly what they've been doing.
In 2023, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a new law to combat alleged price gouging at the pump.
Well, there's a new sheriff in town in California where we brought big oil to their knees. And I'm proud of this state, and I'm proud of this state.
The law aims to increase transparency in the oil and gas industry and created an independent watchdog called the Division of Petroleum Market Oversight.
The effects of the law have not yet seemed to have a major impact. California has not spelled out what would be considered excess profit. Confusion comes from the fact that a lot of the situation that creates record profits is the restriction on refineries in California, which then can create this domino which rewards refineries. Again, if California was less restrictive, more refineries could get involved, produce gasoline, and that would restrict profits at all refineries. But because of those restrictions and because of the lack of transparency, California really hasn't decided a definition of what price gouging is or excess profit is. And so there hasn't really been much impact.
At the same time, California plans to ban the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035 as it transitions to cleaner vehicles. 25% of new cars sold in California in 2023 were zero-emission vehicles.
People are now considering getting an EV, and part of it has to do with the fact that gas prices just keep going up every year.
Without a doubt, the high price of gasoline does encourage more EV adoption. Americans getting hit with $5 and $6 gallon prices in California is likely accelerating the shift away. Volatility in the price of gasoline certainly could continue as California transitions away from fossil fuels into EVs.
And it's not just California. The Biden administration hopes 50% of new vehicle sales in the U.S. will be electric by 2030. As part of the EV push, the 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law included $7.5 billion for a national EV charging network.
The Great American Road Trip is going to be fully electrified. Charging stations will be up and easy to find as gas stations are now.
Families are spending thousands of dollars on gasoline each year.
While consumers are powerless to fight against the vast differences stations may be charging, they can educate themselves on what is a price that's acceptable.
For drivers who aren't going electric, here are a few ways to save on gas.
We always tell drivers to aggressively shop around for the lowest prices. Tires and maintenance, keep your vehicle in top shape with routine inspections. Map your route before you go to minimize unnecessary turnarounds and act tracking. Avoiding rush hour, anticipating road conditions. Bad driving isn't just unsafe, it's also expensive. Studies have shown that personal driving habits are the single biggest factor that affects vehicle fuel consumption. Watch your speed, slow down and drive the speed limit. Higher speeds result in more aerodynamic drag, so reducing highway speeds by 5 to 10 miles per hour can increase fuel economy by as much as 14%.
Consumers armed with this information can save potentially hundreds of dollars per year, especially in California.
They're pushing for this electric vehicle mandate. They only want electric vehicles in there by 2035. Well, that requires electricity, which means they're going to have to go heavy into wind, solar, those kinds of things, because they don't want any kind of fossil fuels in California. Never mind the fact that other than Tesla, there really hasn't been a company that has been able to keep up in profits. And, well, liberals don't like Tesla, as you can see from the domestic terrorism that has been happening towards Tesla. So, this state that is already hemorrhaging people, even though there are some folks that are coming back from the ones that went to Austin, mostly because Austin was trying to tout itself as the next Silicon Valley. Most people are leaving California and not wanting to come back. And they're trying to bolster their people by having all these illegal immigrants there. So it turns into a catch-22 of stupidity when it comes to having people in the state. So they need electricity for all these EVs that they're wanting to have. So let's let you hear about the power grid. And this is from 11 months ago, talking about the fact that the solar issue is getting interesting.
Across California, it's a common sight. Rows of suburban homes topped with solar panels. But as the state works towards its ambitious clean energy vision, an almost counterintuitive problem has emerged. California is at times generating too much solar, meaning loads of good clean energy is going to waste.
Since solar power relies on the sun, it's often the middle of the day on days when it's not too hot that you can run into this issue of essentially having too much solar. People aren't home, they're not running their ACs, and the system can generate more than the state can use.
This imbalance has been dubbed the duck curve. Its belly, the time of day when solar production can exceed demand.
So that's the duck curve?
That's the duck curve. Yeah, there it is.
Inside California's independent grid operator, CEO Elliot Mainzer showed us how they manage the state's electricity in real time.
There is solar energy right now that's essentially being thrown away.
You know, the bottom line is that there are times when we do not have the demand for electricity for the full production of the solar fleet. Sometimes we're able to export it, and there are those times under certain extreme conditions when we do have to curtail it.
When you say curtail, you mean throwing it away?
We say sending dispatch instructions to those fleets to reduce their generation, yes.
In recent years, the amount of renewable energy curtailed, most of it solar, has skyrocketed, both from oversupply and so-called congestion, when there's more electricity than the transmission lines in some areas can handle. So far this year, the state has already lost out on nearly 2.6 million megawatt hours of renewable electricity, more than enough to power all the households in San Francisco for a year. To solve the problem, Governor Gavin Newsom's administration has been pushing to add more batteries to store that excess energy. And state regulators have taken a more controversial approach, drastically cutting financial incentives for homeowners looking to install solar.
Before, we used to have people clamoring to put solar on.
Ed Murray, who operates Aztec Solar outside Sacramento, says the impact has been devastating for his business. He's laid off 10 employees over the last year.
We were left figuring out what do we do now?
Since the changes, there's been a 66% drop in residential solar installations and an estimated 17,000 green jobs lost statewide. To make it cost-effective, homeowners now need to install batteries in addition to solar panels. But that can cost an additional $10,000 to $20,000 or more. In a statement, Governor Newsom defended the state's policies, saying in part, no other state in America comes close to California's solar production. And now we're adding more batteries faster than ever to help capture that energy to use at night.
Do you think California will be able to meet its 2045 clean energy goal?
Absolutely not. No way we're going to get there without rooftop solar.
New challenges casting a shadow on the path to a renewable future. Liz Kreutz, NBC News, Folsom, California.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
I would hate to be in California. I really would. Common sense barely is operating in that state. Yes, they've got this massive budget. If they cut away from the U.S., this is GDP. We can make movies in the United States without California. We can stop having a lot of the things that are in California from happening in the U.S. We can produce whatever is produced in California. I mean, Elon Musk showed that you don't have to be in California to do big things. Silicon Valley has pretty much crumbled in California. So they want to be, there are so many people that keep saying, oh, we need to be like California. Really? Now, do I like the idea of electric vehicles to a certain degree? Yeah, for small, around the town kinds of things, I don't mind electric vehicles. Some people actually like them, but we don't have the grid nationwide for electric vehicles. These data sites, bringing back manufacturing, which should never have left the U.S., and you've got so many other reasons to need to have an expanding electric capacity or a need for it. So, what do you think about this? Seriously, what do you think that California and as such, the United States needs to do when dealing with this issue. If you keep hurting businesses that are A, bringing in good jobs, B, they're keeping you going because, well, electric vehicles can only do so much, and C, you're trying to rely on illegal immigrants to handle everything while citizens are leaving. So you've got all those three things to deal with. So what do you think? This could be coming to a state near you, so it's not an impractical thing. So this has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now.